every secret has a way of flying back home. No matter how high you go, the truth always finds a way to land. It starts with the sound of wind brushing against metal. The airport stands still in the pale light of dawn, half awake, half dreaming. A plane waits on the runway, its silver body glinting under a tired sun. Workers move like shadows, loading bags that hold more than clothes. Some carry guilt, some carry power, and one carries something that was never meant to fly. Inside the glass walls of the terminal, silence hangs heavy. The morning announcements echo softly, calling names that sound like warnings. Among the steady stream of passengers, a man in a dark coat walks with purpose. His eyes don't move, but he sees everything. His ticket isn't for travel, it's for control. Behind him, a woman in a red scarf pauses to watch. Her face doesn't change, but her hands tighten around a phone. She types one message before boarding. It's in motion. The air hums with engines starting. The low growl of something bigger than travel, something planned, precise, and dangerous. Somewhere far from this airport, behind walls of marble and silence, a queen waits. Not the kind that wears a crown of jewels, but one who rules with secrets and whispers. She doesn't fly, but her reach is higher than any plane. Every move in her kingdom begins quietly, like this morning, ordinary to the eye. Deadly beneath the surface. The camera moves through the airport like a ghost, catching fragments of stories no one else sees. A nervous hand clutching a passport, a ring spinning on a counter, a child laughing while his mother wipes a tear she doesn't explain. Everyone here is headed somewhere, but only one destination matters. The flight that carries a decision too dangerous to stay on the ground. As the boarding gates open, a soft voice announces the flight number. The man in the dark coat doesn't look up. He's been on this path too long to hesitate now. The woman in red follows behind him, keeping distance but never losing sight. Their eyes never meet, but they share the same weight, a choice that will soon shape the sky. Outside, clouds begin to thicken, the kind that promise rain but hold storms. The queen watches from her mansion miles away, sipping tea as she stares at a single line of text glowing on her phone. The bird is ready. Her lips curve into a faint smile. She doesn't need to be there to control the flight. The sky belongs to her just as much as the people below it. At the airport, a last call echoes. The man and woman vanish into the tunnel, swallowed by light. Engines roar, metal trembles, and the ground gives way to air. For a moment, everything seems peaceful, the kind of peace that exists right before everything breaks. Because somewhere in the belly of that plane lies a secret sealed in an envelope marked CONSEQ. UNC, and once the sky closes around it, there will be no turning back. The plane hums like a living thing, its engines whispering secrets into the clouds. Inside, the world feels suspended. Time stretches, silence lingers, and every sound seems too loud. The passengers are strangers to each other, but all share one thing: they're hiding something. Every seat tells a story, every breath has meaning. Row 3. A pair of polished shoes rests neatly beneath the seat. The man wearing them doesn't move much. His fingers trace the edge of a golden cufflink shaped like a crown, a small, shining reminder of power. To everyone else, he's just another businessman on another flight. But if you look closer, you'd see the calm of someone who has already decided what others will only fear later. He's the king, though no one calls him that here. In this metal kingdom above the clouds, he rules with silence and control. His calm isn't peace, it's precision. A few rows back, a woman crosses her legs slowly, her perfume cutting through the recycled air. Her lipstick is perfect, her posture effortless. The red scarf now rests loosely around her neck, like a warning too elegant to notice. She scrolls through her phone, eyes scanning messages that will never be read again. Her name isn't on any list, not the one that matters. To the outside world, she's a nobody. But in the queen circle, she's the eye that sees all. She doesn't work for love, only for survival. The queen calls her raven, and her silence is worth more than gold. At the back of the plane, a man in gloves sits near the window, his reflection fractured by the glass. He never takes off his sunglasses, not even when the light fades. His briefcase is handcuffed to his wrist, sleek, black, and locked. He's known as Julian the Fixer. His face is in no database, his name erased from every record. He's the kind of man who solves problems before anyone knows they exist. But tonight, even he feels a shift in the air. Something's off. The queen never calls without reason, and this job feels heavier than most. He taps the briefcase once, a nervous habit. One tap for luck, two for truth. Across the aisle, a flight attendant smiles politely, but her eyes dart to the passengers more than they should. She's been warned extra security, special clearance, and a reminder not to ask questions. Still, curiosity lingers. She notices the briefcase, the red scarf, the man who never blinks. Something about this flight feels too quiet, too controlled. She presses her lips together and keeps moving, pretending not to see the signs written in silence. The plane climbs higher. Outside, the clouds swallow the world below. Inside, the invisible lines between power and danger begin to blur. The king opens a small notebook filled with numbers and names. The woman in red receives a message that simply reads, "Proceed as planned." Julian adjusts his cuff, eyes scanning the aisle like a hawk waiting for movement. Far away, in a mansion wrapped in velvet shadows, the queen leans back in her chair. The room around her glows with low light, walls lined with portraits of people who once thought they were untouchable. Her voice is soft, sharp, unshakable. "Everything that rises must serve," she murmurs, pressing a finger against the glass of wine beside her. On her screen, the flight signal blinks steadily. Every move, every breath is part of her design. Back on the plane, turbulence shakes the cabin. Nothing major, just enough to wake the nervous ones. The king doesn't move. Raven looks out the window, pretending to be bored. Julian grips the armrest, his heartbeat syncing with the hum of the engines. None of them notice the small red light blinking near the back compartment, a silent warning that something on board is not as it should be. The pilot's voice breaks the quiet. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting a smooth journey tonight." Smooth. The word feels wrong. In a world built on lies and control, smooth is just another word for before it falls apart. The queen's voice echoes softly in Julian's memory. Every flight has a purpose. This one carries consequence. As the plane cuts through the night, unseen threads connect every passenger, some of loyalty, others of fear. The queen's reach stretches even here, among strangers who think they're free. None of them know they're just pieces on her board. Not yet. The king closes his notebook. Raven hides her phone. Julian leans back, eyes closed, but not resting. The storm hasn't started, but it's already in motion. The plane cuts through a wall of clouds, vanishing into a gray ocean of mist. Inside, the lights flicker once, then steady, but something has shifted. The air feels heavier, like the sky itself knows what's about to happen. People keep reading, sleeping, pretending. But underneath that calm hum of engines, a quiet storm is gathering. In seat 7A, the king leans back, his eyes half closed, hands resting calmly on his lap. But inside his chest, his pulse beats to a different rhythm, sharp, measured, ready. He knows Raven is watching him. He's known since the terminal. Every move she's made, every time her eyes flick toward his reflection, he noticed. It's what he does: observe, calculate, control. Yet this time, control feels fragile. For the first time in years, the king doesn't know which move is his last. Raven sits 2 rows behind, pretending to scroll through her phone. The screen glows faintly, displaying a single message she hasn't opened yet. Her thumb hovers over it, hesitant. Finally, she taps. The words appear in clean white letters. "Secure the item from 7A. Do not involve Julian." If the king resists and it, her throat tightens. The queen's words are never open to interpretation. Orders are orders. And yet, the queen has a way of using people like stepping stones, every one of them meant to break after serving their purpose. Raven knows that. She's seen it happen. But she's still here, flying toward her own uncertainty. Julian shifts in his seat. The briefcase on his wrist feels heavier, like the metal itself knows what's inside. He's carried secrets before documents, drives, weapons, but never something that made his stomach twist like this. The queen's job was simple, she said. Deliver the consequence, but he's a man who understands that words like consequence always carry blood behind them. He senses Raven's tension before he even looks. Her movements are too controlled, her breathing shallow. She's waiting for the moment. The king is calm to calm. The kind of calm that means he's already armed with more than just plans. Julian doesn't trust either of them, but he knows one thing for certain. The queen never sends 3 of her people on the same mission unless only one is meant to return. The plane dips slightly as turbulence shivers through the cabin. Passengers gasp, some clutching armrests. A child starts crying softly. The captain's voice breaks through the intercom. Just a small pocket of rough air. Nothing to worry about, but everyone feels it, the faint tremor of unease. Raven stands, smooth as silk. Her red scarf slides down her shoulder. She walks toward the front, her steps soundless, her eyes fixed on the king. He doesn't move until she's right beside him. Then, without looking up, he says quietly, "You're late." Her breath catches. Late for what? He turns his head slightly, his eyes meeting hers. The moment you realize she sent you to die, Raven's hand tightens around the armrest. You don't know what you're talking about, but he does. The queen doesn't trust her agents. She tests them. The briefcase Julian holds isn't the prize, it's the bait. The real secret, the true consequence, sits in the king's coat pocket. A small data card containing every name tied to the queen's hidden empire. Whoever delivers it controls everything. Whoever fails disappears. God, Julian stands now to. His gloved hand hovers near his wrist, ready to unkind the briefcase. "Sit down," he says, his voice calm but edged like glass. "We're not doing this up here, but it's too late." The queen's plan is already unraveling. A passenger from the back row, man in casual clothes with an earpiece hidden beneath his collar, touches the side of his neck. Murmuring softly, they've made contact. He isn't a passenger. He's surveillance, sent by the queen herself to make sure no one walks away with the truth. The lights flicker again. The captain's voice cuts off mid-sentence. Static fills the intercom, then silence. The plane steadies, but the mood doesn't. The hum of engines feels louder now, like a warning. Raven looks down the aisle and sees Julian watching her. Between them, 1,000 unspoken things pass: regret, fear, understanding. The king remains still, hand now slipping into his coat pocket. The moment stretches thin to thin and then breaks. The sound of metal clicks softly, Julian unlocking the briefcase. But instead of pulling it open, he sets it on the seat beside him. "You both want it," he says. "You both lose if you take it." Raven shakes her head. "You don't understand." "Oh, I do," he replies, eyes cold. The queen doesn't deal in loyalty. She deals in leverage. The plane jolts violently, throwing everyone off balance. Oxygen masks fall. A scream rips through the cabin. Alarms begin to chirp, but no one knows if it's real or triggered remotely. Raven grips the back of a seat, gasping for balance. The king rises slowly, his expression eerily calm. "We're all just passengers in her game," he says. "But the end belongs to me." He pulls a small black device from his pocket. A red light pulses at its center. Julian freezes. Raven's eyes widen. The queen's true plan comes into focus. This flight isn't meant to land far below. In her mansion, the queen closes her laptop. A faint smile touches her lips as the radar screen flashes a final signal. Flight lost, and high above the clouds. As metal burns against wind, the consequence takes flight. Smoke curls like ribbons across the sky, twisting around broken metal that once called itself a plane. What was smooth and certain a moment ago is now a storm of falling fire. The clouds, once soft and harmless, turn into graves of smoke and light. The engines cry out, the sky rips open, and gravity finally claims what arrogance tried to deny. Inside, chaos rules. The cabin is no longer a place of quiet deals and hidden plans. It's a cage of screams, shaking seats, and desperate breaths. The lights strobe wildly, painting faces in flashes of red and white. The king grips the armrest with one hand, the black device in the other. The red light on it flickers fast, like a heartbeat on the edge of breaking. His calm is gone now, replaced by something raw fear mixed with fury. For all his control, the sky doesn't listen. Raven crawls across the aisle, her red scarf torn, whipping in the wind pouring through a cracked window. The queen's voice echoes in her head, soft and cruel. Deliver it, or don't bother landing. She laughs a broken, bitter sound swallowed by the roar of the storm. For years, she served power thinking it would save her. Now she sees it for what it is, a poison dressed as purpose. Julian lies near the back, the briefcase still chained to his wrist. The impact has thrown him hard, but he's conscious, barely. His vision blurs between light and shadow. Around him, oxygen masks dangle like ghosts. He blinks, forcing his focus on the king and the device in his hand. Don't, he mutters, voice hoarse, lost in the wind. But the king doesn't hear. Or maybe he does and just doesn't care. The queen's plan was never survival, it was spectacle. The flight itself was the message. The passengers were pawns, and the explosion was the exclamation mark. She wanted to erase the evidence, tie up loose ends, and start fresh with clean hands and bloodless lies. Raven drags herself toward Julian. The case, she gasps. It's the trigger. Julian shakes his head weakly. No, the case was bait. The real weapon's his. Their eyes meet, and truth clicks between them like lightning. Raven looks toward the king, who's standing now, bracing himself against the shaking cabin. The device in his hand glows brighter, the red now turning white. You think she lived clean after this? He shouts over the roar. No one erases me. The plane tilts sharply left. Seats rip from the floor. A man is pulled into the open air before anyone can scream. Raven clings to the edge of a seat, metal biting into her palms. If you detonate it, she wins, she yells. She gets her chaos, and you become her ghost. The king hesitates. Just for a moment. And in that moment, Julian moves. With a grunt of pain, he unchains the briefcase, grabs it with both hands, and slams it against the window beside him. Glass shatters. Air explodes inward. The roar becomes deafening. He looks once at Raven, once at the king. Every consequence has to land somewhere, he says and throws the briefcase out into the clouds. The king lunges, screaming, but it's too late. The briefcase vanishes into the wind, swallowed by the sky it was meant to destroy. The device in his hand flashes one last time, then burns out. The power drains from his face. Without his control, he looks small, almost human. The plane begins to level, engines groaning in defiance. Raven collapses into a seat, trembling. The world outside is still chaos, but inside, there's a breath of quiet, a fragile heartbeat of hope. Julian lies still, his arm bleeding from the broken chain. For a moment, she thinks it's over. But the queen never leaves loose ends, thousands of miles away. In her mansion of marble and mirrors, the queen receives the signal. The plane didn't explode. Her expression doesn't change, but her eyes harden. Julian, she whispers, you always were too loyal for your own good. She taps her finger on the chessboard before her. The queen stands alone now, every other piece fallen. She closes the board. Then the game resets. Back in the sky, the plane descends through smoke and rain. The pilot's voice returns, shaken but alive, calling for emergency landing. The king slumps into his seat, defeated. Raven stares out the window at the burning trail in the distance, the briefcase falling, tumbling endlessly. Somewhere in that fire is her freedom, or maybe just another secret waiting to be found. Hours later, what's left of the plane lies scattered across a deserted field. Rain falls steadily, washing away footprints and lies alike. Reporters will call it an accident. Governments will call it tragedy. But the queen will call it necessary. In a quiet hospital room, Raven wakes with a start. Her arm is bandaged, her body bruised. On the nightstand beside her, a small sealed envelope waits, no name, no mark, just one word typed neatly across it. Continue. She exhales slowly, staring at it. Somewhere outside, the world goes on. unaware of the storm that nearly tore it apart. She knows what it means she is not free. Not yet. The queen's reach still lingers in the shadows, stretching toward the next move, the next victim, the next consequence. And as Raven closes her eyes, she whispers to herself, almost as if praying, next time. The queen falls. The rain keeps falling. The sky stays gray. But for the first time, the wind carries something new. Not fear, not power, rebellion.